Last but not least, the man who held these guys together. I don't know how he did it. Pat Harrington, head wrestling coach from 1966 to 1971. A year after his first season, the team finished 16-1 and earned its first GMAA title and Seaway Conference Championship, setting the stage for the Fruitport Wrestling dynasty. Coach Harrington's 5 years at the Trojan helm went on to generate many records, some of which still stand today. Coach Harrington was named All-Sports Coach of the Year for Muskegon County in 1971. His overall record is 67-16. Here's more on Pat Harrington.
I wrestled in high school, played football, but certainly being a smaller person, I had a great coach in high school, developed my interest in wrestling, was successful and was able to get a full ride scholarship to Western Michigan University. Back then, freshmen couldn't wrestle varsity, but in order for me to keep my scholarship, I had to make the varsity team, so that was a momentum there. And from there, I was invited to wrestle in the USA team. And we trained in Fort Lauderdale, where I ended up meeting my wife. And we got married in February of my first year at Fruitport. I was thrilled with that opportunity and was there for 5 years. And we had a great nucleus of wrestlers my first year. At that time, our rivalry was with Spring Lake. We had never beaten them, and they beat us the first time. We had 2 matches with them in 67, 68. We didn't win there, but in the second year, beating Spring Lake was the pinnacle. So that was definitely a highlight. And then I think our first conference championship was a highlight. And actually we won 4 consecutive conference championships. So that's what I would say would be the highlights.
He created what I sincerely believe to be the greatest high school wrestling program of all time. The intensity, the fire that man brought.
He pushed us to get every last ounce of energy we had out of us, far more than we would have been able to summon up ourselves, I think. He was a motivator.
He never gave you a chance to quit. He always pushed you all the way. You know, he wouldn't let you quit.
When you think you're at your limit, there's always a little more you can tap into.
And another thing is he kind of treated the people that were the best wrestlers and the people that were not so good, he treated them all like they were all state champions. You know, he was good. He's good to the guys, and that's why they respected him.
Talk to anybody, very respectful, very humble as the team that he put out there.
He was really the best coach around. He really worked us hard, and hard work really paid off.
I have to thank you. I don't think I was ever pinned in my whole career, but yeah, premature baldness, that's what I have, and there's quite a few other guys here like that too. I remember how he would focus so much just before the match in the locker room and tell us, guys, this is it. Everything you've worked for all week, all these hours you've put in, it's all about the next 6 minutes that you're going to put on the mat. And he'd get us all fired up, and he'd leave the locker room and say, now I want you to think about that for a few minutes, and I'll be right back. And he'd have this scowl on his face, and we'd all be shaking like, oh boy. Coach would leave, and I'd jump up and start telling jokes. And we'd all get everybody laughing and rolling, and all of a sudden the door, we'd hear that, because there was 2 doors in the locker room. We'd hear that first door open, and we'd all shut up and get back down and start shaking again, and he'd walk back in and say, all right, I think you guys are ready.
When he gave you that look, you knew you better buckle down and start working. That look is what did it for you.
Going up to one of our greatest rivals, Mona Shores, and he looked at that team in the annex at the end of an exhausting practice, and Mona Shores was coming up, and he said, guys, we gotta beat them. He said, there's no one else that can stand up to Mona Shores. He says, but Fruitport. The final score was Fruitport 22, Mona Shores 21. And when it was over, the fans, it was at Mona Shores, our fans had packed the visitor side and the people stormed down onto the mat.
One time he was demonstrating how he could break the grip of anybody. So he called me up there, said, all right, lock your hands. So I locked them. So he's working on it, he's prying on it, he can't get them apart. He says, go sit down, Batch, get it over here. Batch was our 103-pounder, so he made it work.
He was after every bit of good you had in you. He needed it and wanted it and for the team.
I look back at those years, I think it shaped me as well, working with those kids and seeing them grow and be successful. Certainly impacted my outlook on my career.
Wouldn't be where we are as far as the wrestling team, as far as people, without your backing and you driving us. So
It helped me all through my life. In my business, it helped me. In my marriage, it helped me, because you taught us how to stick in there, how to be kind, but how to be tough.
But this is the guy, I think, that really set the stage for me personally for the success I've had in my life. And it means so much to me. And you know that, Coach. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Love you to death.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Coach.
You're the best.
Coach. Thank you, Coach. Thank you. I think I'll take a page out of your book, and certainly I won't go on like Steve. But it is, I am so proud, and it is humbling. I look back at those years, and I know as a wrestler myself, as an athlete, and talking to the other, or the gentleman that won for football, college athletics is a lot different than high school. And certainly at 22, when I came here, I was not, still a little wet behind the ears in terms of being a coach. And I had such a great group to start with, the nucleus. And this whole area became a hotbed of wrestling. And I was inspired. I didn't do any push-ups. I didn't do the whoopies. I didn't go to the extremes that you guys did, and you looked to yourselves for the success you had. I was just there to share in it, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I was inspired by you. It certainly helped me with the rest of my career. Just real briefly, my goal was to be a college wrestling coach, and I wanted to see if I could replicate the success I had at Fruitport at Marysville. And the union just came in at that time, and they said, no, I'm sorry, you can't be a wrestling coach. That has to go to a teacher, because they hired me as the assistant principal. And so that kind of ended my coaching career, but the experience and the inspiration I got from you fellas helped me with the rest of my career. I was a high school principal for 27 years, and then went into central office, and finally in 1980 was able to receive my doctoral degree, and I just have had many, as Mr. Schutte said, inspiring times working with young people in this career of education. It's, you get more than you give, and you certainly have given me a great deal, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, and thank you for this honor.